Hi, welcome to another episode of Webcam Sessions. It's been the holidays the last week or so, and so I've been taking some time off with my new son who was born just a couple months ago, and it's been a lot of fun. So this episode's a little bit shorter because of the holidays and everything else, but it covers something that's very relevant to this time and something that I think is very important. With it being New Year coming up, we're going to talk a little bit about goals and how to kind of achieve them when you're practicing on an ukulele. When I get a new student, the first thing I do is ask them a set of 3 questions. The first question is, where do you want to see yourself right away with your playing? You know, what are the things that maybe you've been working on for a while that you just quite can't get yet, or something that's escaped you for a while, or some, small type of concept that you want to immediately start doing. Some examples of that could be, I want to be able to do something with finger picking or something with strumming, or I want to be able to play a song. Those immediate goals, which then we move on to the second question, which is, where do you want to see yourself in about 3 months or so? It could be 3 to 6 months, but the point is under a year, but with enough time, passing that you can work on some real things. And then from there, I lead into the question of, where do you want to see yourself in a year and more, right? And these questions are really designed for me to get a feel for where the student wants to progress towards. After a year, what sort of things are they going to be wanting to work on? And I like asking those 3 questions in a reversed order to how I just mentioned them here. Ask where they'd like to be in a year, and then in a 3 to 6 months, and then kind of right away. Because if the right away doesn't lead into the 3 to 6 months, which doesn't lead into the year, you might not make as much progress with your practice as you might hope to. And so kind of the concept today is talking about how to break down goals into kind of achievable chunks, and really trying to make sure that we're not biting off more than we can chew. When I was first really avid about playing the ukulele and started playing very seriously, I was really lucky in that I was studying school at a community college, and I lived in my parents' basement, and I got to bring my ukulele with me to school, where I was taking tons of music courses. I'd bring my uke, play them in the courses, and then I'd go home and practice ukulele and rinse and repeat every day. So I had no real responsibilities to the world other than studying music and applying it to the uke, which thank you again, Mom and Dad, because that was amazing to be able to do for a couple of years. And so when I get a new student, obviously the student is either, they might be a kid in school, but it's more common that they're an adult that has a job and a family and other hobbies and, quite frankly, a life. And so when I was learning how to play, I had the opportunity to just sit and practice for hours at a time, and most people don't have that luxury. And so making sure that the goals that you create are oriented in a way that will allow you to achieve them is really important the more busy you are. So let's say that your goal, and this is just an example, let's say that your goal is, I want to be able to play a finger-picking classical piece of music, right? And let's say that's your year goal. I want to be able to proficiently play that whole song. And maybe it's a 6-month goal, but depending on your skill level, it might change, right? And so an example of that could be like Dona Nobis. I've got a tablature actually posted on my website. The link will be posted right here for that if you want to check it out. But with a song like Dona Nobis, great example. Now, if you think, okay, I want to learn how to play this song, it might be easy to just pull up the tab and say, I'm going to play all the way through it. Pull out the uke, start playing, and try to essentially go all the way through start to finish. And you'll stumble as you work on it because it's new concepts and everything else. And it's very discouraging because by the time you get to the end of it, it's been an hour and a half and you don't remember anything that you were working on before. And in many ways, that can be so discouraging that you don't work on the tune again, which is kind of unfortunate because the trick to practice is kind of these smaller bites. So the example here is with a song like Dona Nobis. Let's say that you want to learn that over time. Well, maybe the goal is, if you can only practice, let's say 4 times a week, maybe the goal is for the first week, you get comfortable with bars 1 through 6, or 1 through 8, or 1 through 4, depending on your skill level. And what that allows you to do is break it into pieces that are more manageable on a day-to-day practice level. So let's say that you're doing the first 6 bars in your first week, and you get 3 practice sessions. Well, the first session, you work on bars 1 and 2. The second one, you work on 3 and 4. And the last one, you work on 5 and 6. And if you miss a practice session or you have a bad practice session, it allows you to kind of push forward the stuff that you should have worked on. So let's say the first practice session you do great. You get measures 1 and 2 down just comfortably. And then the second practice session, maybe you practice the first time on a Monday and then the next time's on a Friday, and you might end up spending most of the time reviewing bars 1 and 2. And that's okay, because when you go to your third practice session, maybe that's on Saturday, you have the opportunity to kind of catch up a little bit to what you did before, because it's more manageable in terms of the pieces. And then you can spend a little bit more time working on 3 and 4, and then eventually 5 and 6. And what's cool about this kind of format is if you don't get comfortable with all 6, you may get comfortable with 4 and you're still making that progress, as opposed to if you sit down, try to play through the whole song all at once, and then just get discouraged and stop. So when you're practicing the ukulele, what you want to try to do are make micro goals to kind of accomplish, because it really helps build kind of the confidence really of hey, I can do this. I got these 2 measures, I'm moving on to the next 2, and it gives you more of a showing of what you're making progress in on a practice to practice basis, and then also a week to week and kind of moving forward. I'll tell you, for me, because I am much more busy now than I was then, with a baby and with teaching full time and with making videos and everything else, I don't have nearly as much time to practice. I notice my playing oftentimes suffers for that. And sometimes I'll have this mindset of, oh, I'm going to do a new arrangement of this, song that I loved. I'm going to sit down and do the whole thing, and I'll sit down and practice for an hour and make a little bit of progress, but be so overwhelmed by the whole project that it's easy to kind of forego it. So what I instead do is say, okay, I'm going to get 3 sessions this week. I'm going to work on first, second, third part of the intro. I'm going to get that down. And by the end of that week, I got that intro down, which is a smaller piece, but it allows me to get more comfortable as I move forward with the song. So more of a concept today, no real playing, but it's something that I think is really important, is breaking down the pieces of your practice. And with iPhones and Androids and all these different devices, they've got all these different list making apps and reminder lists and all that. I find it really a fun thing to write out, I'm going to learn measures 1 through 2, to be able to check it off as I go. And I've been talking almost exclusively about learning through a tab. If you're learning a song, maybe it's, I'm going to get my B flat chord comfortable this week. I'm not going to worry about anything else but the initial fingering, right? And then the next week it's, I'm going to work on my F to my B flat chord, F chord to B flat, just get that relationship really comfortable. And then the week after that, it's, I'm going to get the C7 to B flat comfortable, or whatever it may be. And even though it took you 3 weeks to now get that comfortable, there are small enough pieces that it's easy to make that progress. So go ahead and try and see how you like to work on things, and see if this bite-sized concept helps out. And be sure to comment below with what your goals are with your ukulele playing. I'll tell you right now, my goals are to do more arranging, do a little bit more writing, and most importantly, make more performance-based videos. I've got a few different songs that I did for my Kickstarter, which I launched almost a year ago next month. For my album Dragonfly, that was released at the kind of the beginning half of last year. You can actually purchase it on my website, mattukulele.com, so check that out if you're interested. But I've got a few songs I wrote for different backers with the Kickstarter, and so I'll be making those videos in the next couple weeks. I'm very excited about it. So my goal is to do more videos and try to be writing more music as I do it. So I hope you guys had a wonderful year. I'm really excited to be continuing this going into 2017. And yeah, please comment below if you have any questions or anything else. And have a wonderful end of 2016 and beginning of 2017. Take it easy.